Yeah. Right? Yeah, we have.
I don't know if you can hear me or Erica, can you please tell me that you can hear me? Anybody online?
Maybe I could have done this from home.
Yes, I could hear you.
Maybe.
Stu, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
you know the one coming from me. Okay, now we can hear you.
Okay, Stu, just say it again for me, please.
Yes, I could hear you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, and we're ready anytime.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, let's call our meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Capolo. Here. Councilor Messina.
Here.
Councilor Foster. Mayor Kaczynski.
Here.
Councilor Nessa.
Here.
Councilor Rocco.
Here.
Councilor D. Here. There you have a report.
All right, thank you very much. So first up is our audience of citizens. Anyone want to address the council with whatever it may be regarding the town or what's on the agenda tonight? Anyone here at this point? Okay, seeing no one, we will go to our Zoom, to our outer space audience. Anyone on Zoom? Okay, nobody's jumping up and down and yelling at us, so, all right, we hear no one, so we'll go ahead and close our audience of citizens. I'll just do a real quick mayor's update in light of our lengthy agenda tonight. Just kind of want to put out there that I don't think we've gotten it yet, but we know reevaluation is here and we'll be getting letters, right, I believe, from the town or from the company, right, the contracting for the town. They went out today, okay, so we'll be receiving them shortly. Don't all be upset when you get the letters. Your value of your homes and businesses has gone up, which is a good thing. But with that means taxes would go up. However, we will be looking at, I know the Board of Finance will be looking at to hopefully reduce the mill rate, which will even some of the tax increase out and hopefully lower some of that tax increase, depending upon the budget this year. So we don't want the folks to freak out as I did when I saw what happened with my house. I wasn't happy with the large tax increase. The value's up, and it's great if you're gonna sell it tomorrow. But, so that's every town goes through this, and we'll be looking at that budget and most likely we will lower the mill rate to make adjustments, right?
I mean, I would say, when we go through the budget process, so that we'll have a apples to apples comparison,
Yes.
we would say if what the mill rate would have been at the new market rate.
Yeah.
So it'll be lower than what you have now. Correct. So the establish a base before we do the increase. So
Oh, yeah.
it's not an automatic.
No, but I mean, right, but we should, Roche, hopefully, we should get that out to the folks. Once they receive the letter, that might, they understand that's not the final word, basically. Right?
I don't think there's any mention of taxes on that. It's just the value of your house. And
Yeah.
they have a number to call.
Yes,
You should call it.
man the phones, I guess, but,
It'll be handled by the professionals.
Yeah.
It would explain why things went up.
Yeah.
And it's not unique to Berlin.
no.
Many other towns as well.
Well, everywhere.
Which I think is a good.
it is a good thing. But the average, according to Mr. Ferraro, is about a 20% tax increase on single family homes. Businesses about 13%, and there are some other housing like condos that may have gone up 30%. So there, there is again, it's a good thing for Berlin and for the values and owning your home, the asset goes up, but
That's a value increase, that doesn't tax increase of it. Right?
correct, that's not the tax amount increase. It'll be based on the value, but there will be,
So it'll come down, so there may be some small increase.
yes, that's the goal, is to even it all out with the value and the taxes we have to pay, but they'll be working on that during the budget season. But if we could, we put something, get out, something out in the Citizen, maybe just a little, even a blurb or something on our website to just, if people don't call, if they call, that's great. Because I know people won't take note of that. Again, it's all good until taxes go up. So that's all. We'll end that quickly and we will go to our consent agenda. Or we keep moving forward. We have, what do we have here? Just the four, we have our four items, except monetary donations totaling $55, $50 for the library fund. And also donation of books for $128 to be added to the collection. And they'll go to the Berlin Library. We approve accepting a 6x8 Sterling bench. These are the benches for just for free. Okay, great. Appropriate $1,000 Parks Grant account pending approval of the Board of Finance. And approve tax abatement from the Realty Development for renovation to Fuller Way, 50% year 1, 40% down to 30% year 3 for our town tax abatement policy. So those are the four consent items. So if we have all read them, and if we don't have any questions, we'll go ahead and take a motion on the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda, approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Second on that? Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. On to our new business, or our reports, I'm sorry, reports.
So the union team is presenting to the Board of Finance as we speak.
Yeah.
So they will be here after that and recommend so then at some point in the agenda and show up here.
Okay, good.
So just we'll revisit that.
Okay, sounds
We'll
good.
be at the same place of the base.
Yeah, no, they can't do that. So on to new business.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is the soliciting bid for a consultant for the community development block grant, and the town needs to be engaged for that. And we are assisting the Berlin Housing Authority with some funds, and I would like Mr. Pajorski to come in with a description of what the funds will be used for, and we'll do with it.
Hey, John.
Good evening. I'll go to happy holidays.
Yeah, I mean,
The Berlin Housing Authority is looking to obtain a community development block grant in the amount of $1.2 million for the purposes of redoing the road with Bristol Heights, removing the gutters up there and making improvements to common area, items like doors, carpeting, things like that on both projects, Marjorie Moore and Bristol Heights. In my tenure as chairman, we've brought in about $4 million total both properties. This would be hopefully $5 million. And, like I said, 1.2 is going to be spread out both projects. We're looking at redoing the roof on the entire building, which would be senior center. Bristol Heights Housing.
that's great.
I'll work with Mr. Roche with the Roche, as to seeing if there's any other we can put in place there for the seniors. Outside of that, we need cooperation from the town basically to allow us to solicit a consultant to prepare the application and assert the community development block grant is awarded. And town normally is involved in that process, the council chooses a consultant. And, basically assigns them to work with them.
Okay, that sounds good. Take care of our housing, seniors, great. Questions for Joe? Any questions? No? All right, you want to take a motion on this?
Move that the town of Berlin authorizes the solicitation of bids for a consultant for the purposes of completing, submitting, and administering a grant application for the Community Development Block Grant Program. The grant is approved, the Berlin Housing Authority will be the subrecipient of those grant monies, subject to review and approval of Corporation Council.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? Hearing none, vote on the motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries.
Great, thank you. The next three agenda items is the Knights of Columbus development located at 143 Percival Avenue. And I would think it'll be helpful, Mr. Petrowski could either speak or introduce his team and give the council an overview of the project and the partnerships he's developed, and speak to the funding arrangements and give you an opportunity to ask questions, get comfortable with the direction that we are moving forward.
So again, thank you very much for allowing my attendance this evening. As you all were well aware, for the last 7 years, we've been struggling to put this deal together. We are at the point now where we've secured the $33 million necessary to move forward with this project. We're currently under an option agreement with the town to allow us to secure the funding, which we have done. And we're here tonight basically to seek permission for the our attorney to discuss transfer of title and execution of ground lease for the two parcels that comprise the Knights of Columbus housing project. This is going to require some time. We'd like to get this process going. We'd like to start construction in March, at least demolition in March, construction to follow thereafter. So if we can get the attorneys to start talking and kind of get that ball rolling, then we can move forward with transferring title, executing ground lease on a timely basis, and then get the process going.
Let me pinch myself. Is this really happening?
It's really happening. We're not dreaming. You are awake. Yes, this is really happening. I'd like to introduce to you Rob Capoletti. He's the principal of Northeast Redevelopment Services LLC, the developer that the Housing Authority hired to oversee the construction. He's also the primary person who secured funding. Out of the box thinking. You're able to get funding and overcome some obstacles which presented themselves. Hi.
Welcome, Mr. Kaplan.
And then Maria DeMarco is our principal of DeMarco Management Company. She's the management agency for the Berlin Housing Authority. She helps with, I brought her along today because she helps with the selection of tenants and program goals. I know there's some questions that the council persons had with respect to the area median income and how we structure the rents with the housing authority. So she's here to answer any of those questions. And, I think that is where we're at. Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be helpful to, you can provide a synopsis of how the whole will be structured.
Okay.
I was looking at the emails going back and forth. Funding is coming to Northeast redevelopment. And then you created a Berlin affordable housing for the 501c3. And then I'm not sure, in the past there was a Greater Britain Reality that was involved in the conversation, whether they are still part of that or not.
That's one of Mr. Capoletti's other firms, but
Okay.
so I think that's where the confusion is.
So be helpful to hear from Mr. Capoletti, his background, experience,
Sure.
and what he's done.
I'll yield the floor to Mr. Capoletti.
Thank you for having us tonight. I'm really excited about the project. My name is Rob Capoletti. I run two other housing authorities, the Meriden and Groton Housing Authorities. I'm each one of those housing authorities have development arms, for-profit, nonprofit development arms, which do all the development work. Like the same structure that Joe is working on here, the housing authority generally has a future responsibility for issuing bonds and holding the title of the land, stuff like that. And then their affordable housing development nonprofit will actually run the project with the managers, DeMarco, to manage the property. So the funds come in from a loan. Just wanted to explain, Northeast Redevelopment is a for-profit arm of Greater Groton Realty Corporation, nonprofit arm of the housing. But they're still independent. They get to do work all over the state of Connecticut or wherever. They're actually a project in Rhode Island, in Massachusetts. I think this year we have about $280 million worth of development on paper that's going through the process of getting financed. And our lender has issued the funds for these projects. So I want to let you know that the funds are there, ready to go. Provided we can get the land transferred to the housing authority, the attorney sign all the documents, get everything done. And then, like Joe said, we're ready to start demolition work early spring. Also, I think the council should also understand that 7 years is not a long time for a housing development through a housing authority, because there's a lot of steps the housing authority has to go through. So I saw some people like, it's finally here.
Seems like an eternity, but yeah, and unfortunately to our folks that need it, but we understand it's not an easy process. We certainly have been through. It's for 7 years now, we understand it's difficult.
And I applaud the town council for sticking with the housing authority and hanging in there. And it's very rare to see the good coordination that the town and the housing authority has together. So I hope that explains the relationship, how we're here, why we're here. We just manage the development part of it, and then we step out after construction completion, the housing authority to Marco.
If I may, on the funding aspect of it, so I appreciate you sending the Joe forward this from Wells Fargo. Statutory trust, approximately 1.5 billion. The statement it shows coming to Northeast Redevelopment, which is great. But do you have something that commitment letter, that has conditions to be satisfied?
So we do, but that actually comes in the
sheet and all of that.
So Northeast will issue the housing authority affordable. And it'll be a term sheet based on what the lender is and how we pass the funds. Construction completion. And after that, we either issue the bonds, which the housing authority is working on, the bonds take that out, or if the bonds interest rate is higher, they stick with the lender's bonds, the $33 million loan we have, that goes 15 years. After 15 years, they can refinance.
So I believe in September, Joe, we asked for that from Pullman County, if there's a way that they could satisfy a few items that we had asked about, the term sheet for financing, proposed loan agreement, contract agreement between housing authority and third parties, pro forma for the project itself, construction cost estimate. So is it possible for us to get the term sheet, and especially if there's a way that you could show that there's 34 million in escrow account designated specifically for this purpose?
So those funds aren't being held by the Wells Fargo Statutory Trust, but we will have, once the town approves the land from the housing authority, release the funds to Northeast, which then will work on getting the bonds and bonds. So the lender won't release it if the housing authority doesn't control the land. So that's the next step.
We're not asking the funds to be released. We're asking if there's some document that you can provide to Corporation Council that says that the escrow for this particular project.
Sure. So we have a pool of funds, which is the proof of funds that we've given them. I can get a letter from them that see all the various projects. I think you may even have that. There was an Excel spreadsheet that the lender released back to us with our various projects on.
just going to the storage project.
I think that was submitted to the town, so you guys should know.
No,
Don't have a.
we don't have that, no.
Alright.
That was released, so we can certainly get that to you. And then the next step will be a specific term sheet to affordable to that, under the housing authority with the general conditions of the funds. But the standard template that gets released that you see in a typical structure from the program.
So I think Jeff couldn't be here today. I think for us to move forward and finish to start drafting this paperwork, it would be helpful to have that. Otherwise, it will be difficult for us to recommend to the council to do the title transfer and all of that.
Agreed.
All of that.
I agree, having that information.
How soon can you get that, Joe? I mean, we can work on any schedule, but we need to have some kind of proof of funding. Not just for Northeast redevelopment, that this is dedicated to, I believe, to not Berlin Housing Authority now, it's the Berlin Affordable Housing.
Right, so they're both in the project. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the housing authority, the land use, the affordable availability is the owner project on the housing. The only member of affordable is that.
That's his wholly owned.
So basically, just Joe switching hat.
Yeah, so I'm also, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we're asking for the term sheet is to understand what's being placed for collateral. You look at the Percival Avenue, I look at the latest, the mayor's comment about the newest value, it's $1,054,000, so it's a $34 million project. I'm just curious to find out what's set forth as collateral and mortgage promises and default provisions.
Well, the bond.
Anything that the town.
The bond would be the
Yeah.
collateral.
So I would think somebody giving you the money, those should be outlined somewhere in a loan agreement. And that's what you're asking for, to look at. I just want to make sure that if anything's on the town's credit or if the town is reliable for anything, I assume it's no, but I think Corporation Council would like to see that.
Sure.
Before.
Well, I can explain a little bit of that. So these are non-recourse loans. The building improvements becomes a collateral once it's done. Wells Fargo Statutory Trust looks at the types of projects that we do that are out of philanthropic or give back to the community. That's why they're lending to the project. This project will have geothermal energy, solar energy, a cogen system, so be reducing the utility costs to residents. And it'll have passive house design, which is heavily insulated windows and doors and walls, so that the buildings will be as secure as they could be as far as energy improvements. So that's why they're interested in this, and they get the Community Investment Act credits, and they'll also get the tax credit. So that's their other collateral. That's why they do these things.
Yeah, Hiroshi, you said that you were concerned about the town's liability. The town and the Berlin Housing Authority are two separate legal entities. There is no liability that transfers to the town of Berlin in any way from the activities of Berlin Housing Authority. So I'm not sure where that concern stems from. That being said, in addition to what Rob just listed out here, the collateral is also, as I spoke numerous times before, we are issuing a bond through the Berlin Housing Authority. That is a private placement bond sale, basically, so it's not a public bond auction. We're issuing a bond that is going to be collateralized at $32,000 construction lending on this project. So that's the, that is the collateral in addition to the other items that Rod stated here. So that bond hasn't been issued yet, the position of ownership of the property. So
Perhaps there's a project pro forma that describes how much is coming from bonds and how much is coming from low income tax credits, so that everybody understands the entire financial structure and how things will be paid for. We were just looking for a document, a loan agreement that describes all of that. We have one.
Yeah. That was a two-page performance sheet that we submitted a while back.
Tonight's motion only asks us to approve the attorney, to give the attorney permission to negotiate all of this. He can get into the minutia and hopefully protect the town's interest.
Yeah,
But I understand you gentlemen don't carry all the documents around in your pocket, but I would assume our attorney will get all of that in this negotiation.
I think it was asked for previously. And Jeff hasn't seen the documents.
Well, if they don't produce them, then the negotiation would halt, even if we do approve this motion, I would think.
Except for the second motion, where authorizing to extend the option.
That's a different matter.
That's different, but
if I may.
Yes.
Because the option runs out December 31st, I would recommend that you extend the option anyway for at least 30 days. And then allow the attorneys to Charles' point, work out the detail. But I think there should be another meeting for the title transfer until all of that is.
Well, I think there would have to be, because the council would have final approval of the actual title transfer. So right now, there's no paperwork in place, nothing's been created. And, you know, that's the whole purpose of this motion, is to get the attorneys talking, dot the i's and cross the t's when it comes to the requirements of the option agreement. And then present something to the town council, hopefully in January, that the town council can give final approval to, and we can then go ahead and close the deal.
yeah, so it sounds like we're on the same page, other than the, perhaps when's our next council meeting in January? The 3rd?
Yeah.
Is that enough, through the holiday, is that enough time?
Well,
We have to extend the.
you should extend the option every 30 days before it runs out.
30 days from December. Or from
Yes, from December.
the end of December,
It's not good till end of December.
yeah.
Yes, yeah,
So
expires.
till the end of January.
Yeah.
Yes.
My hope is that we at least give permission to the attorneys to start talking.
Well, so attorneys can talk anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't see why we would need to authorize the town attorney to enter those discussions.
I think those are last, the outcome of our last meeting was that Jeff wasn't eager to enter discussions until the town basically authorized in that direction, so. You
We're
know,
gonna
that's
spend money, so.
correct.
So the discussions are fine to establish, confirm all these documents that they're looking for. But I think part of the second part of that is to prepare documents to pursue the transfer of title. So I would think, I was just point, if all the documents are not there, we would not prepare the transfer of title.
Yeah, we're not looking for transfer of title today, we're not gonna get the ball rolling towards that end game.
Can I just ask one question before we go any further? There was a lot of discussion, the initial quest for financing, to find financing where we could age restrict the building.
Well, the building's age restricted.
It can be age restricted
It
in
is,
this structure.
Yes, number one, the building is, so this is the problem that, correct?
That was a rub for a long time, was we couldn't do that.
Because of the site plan approval, the site is restricted. To a certain age. As a result, the state of Connecticut basically, Department of Housing said this doesn't qualify.
Remember, that was a big rub,
That
but
was
now
a rub.
this gets us over that hurdle.
Yeah, so we basically moved around the state of Connecticut and down through this route. So we can continue in the senior or the age restricted realm without having to incur any addition or problems with the state.
Right.
Mr. Capoletti, I'm having a little difficulty following the various entities that are involved under the Northeast redevelopment side of things. So would you mind just kind of going through again, just for our understanding, or at least for my understanding, Northeast redevelopment's relationship with the Berlin Housing Authority nonprofit that was created, as well as with Berlin Housing Authority, which is, I guess, my understanding, two separate entities, and then which entity we would be dealing with for the title transfer, and then for the at all the various stages of the development process.
So because of the 4% low income housing tax credit program, the housing authority itself cannot own the property. Right. So in order to facilitate ownership, the housing authority C3 nonprofit. It's wholly owned by the Housing Authority, called Berlin Affordable Housing Inc. All right, so the board of directors of the Housing Authority, board of commissioners, of the Housing Authority are also the board of directors of Berlin Affordable Housing.
Right.
It's a paper transaction that basically allows us to develop housing that qualifies for low income housing tax credit financing, right? So that's why that was established, and basically it's to facilitate through the IRS tax code the movement of tax credits from a nonprofit to a for-profit corporation that purchases those tax credits and then uses them to offset their income taxes, some tax.
And then Northeast Redevelopment Services is just intended to facilitate the actual development.
Northeast Redevelopment Services was hired by the Berlin Housing Authority for the purposes of developing the Knights of Columbus project. So basically, they're the subject matter expert when it comes to funding, comes to all the criteria that's necessary to get this project off the ground. There's going to be a bunch of different processes that need to take place in terms of qualifying for certain funding streams. And in order to do so, we have to go through the process of selecting contractors, going through design criteria. There's some new language that came out, the Interest Reduction Act or Inflation Reduction Act, when it comes to the geothermal portion and the solar portion of this project. They're the subject matter expert when it comes to that. So they're bringing their knowledge to the table, allow us to design and build this project. There's another component of our development team, Greg Lucci from Point One Architects, that's doing the design work. He's not here tonight, really doesn't pertain to his field of expertise, but we're looking basically to hire Rob, which we already have, hire Rob to come in and build, design and build this building for us so that we can get it financed. Project.
Got it. Thank you.
Anyone else questions? Capoletti or? No. So. What are we thinking, council and town manager? What do we want us to do?
First one is, should extend the option. I would commit.
Yeah.
You would do that
Yes,
for 30 days.
yes,
If I may just interject,
yes,
I would beseech the council to allow the attorneys to negotiate.
of course.
This is going to take some time, as we can see here in discussions of whether the funds exist, how the funds exist, how they get transferred. So I think the sooner we can get the attorneys talking, the faster this project gets built. So
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem.
thank you.
That'll be the second.
Yeah, well, the second motion is gonna be, 30 days, right?
The first one is to extend the option.
Yes,
The second one would be for the attorneys to have the conversation.
okay. Extend the option first.
Yeah.
Okay. We have that reversed here, but that's all right, that makes more sense. Okay, so, that will be 30 days from December, 31st, right?
Yeah.
All right, does that make sense, everybody? Cool, that's good. Yep.
Very good.
Okay. So,
Well, on December 2.
we're gonna do it on the other thing, yeah, we should, we'll do that one first. The top of it. It's not change. And then we'll extend it, until January 31st.
So I move to authorize the town manager to extend the option agreement between the town of Berlin and the Berlin Housing Authority until January 30th, 2023. Facilitate the transfer of title process.
31st. 31st.
31st.
Okay. There's so, okay, yeah. All right, so, any other questions on this motion? Not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved. And, the second one.
Move to authorize the town attorney to enter into this discussion with Holman Comey, attorney representing the Berlin Housing Authority to prepare a document to facilitate transfer of title and ground lease execution for parcels of land at 143 Percival Avenue known as the Knights of Columbus property, along with land left over from the construction of Percival Park soccer.
Take a second on that.
Second that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council? Hearing none, going on the motion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carried. All right. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. I know I have a couple more to table the other agenda items there. I think that makes sense, right? As I was reading through them, table, agenda, 3 and 4, does that make sense? Okay, that's what we'll do. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. See you. Yeah. See you in the new year.
Yes.
All right, on to number, well, see, that was efficient. On to number 5 already.
Number 5, we have a discussion from Parks and Rec Commission. It's gonna go away. The board.
Everybody?
How are you? Hi, Donna. How's it going?
So this is more informational. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up as to what Park and Rec Commission has been studying for pools.
Oh, okay.
Jen is on Zoom. Unfortunately, Steve Woods and Debbie Dennis weren't able to make the meeting. So if you have questions, we can certainly get back to you if we can't provide the answers. I think you have it in front of you, but let me just quickly go through it and feel free to ask questions. So we're really talking about the more than the pool over in East Berlin. It's an older pool. You have some pictures there, the main deck and the pool itself, as far as major repairs. There's a lot of cracking, stairs are warped. Safe enough to swim. They've patched it up periodically every year to the best of their ability. But you can see the coping is coming apart and what's been identified as a fix is actually to put a liner. You know, these are gunite type pools, right? So usually you wouldn't think a liner goes on them, but as these older pools get to this type of position, you put a liner and you hope that there aren't any other structural repairs on the ground that you're not aware of. We've had that in the capital budget for a number of years, just haven't been acted on. We also have a wading pool at the complex. Small pool, we haven't opened it since 2019. Tons of repairs needed. It really is a mess. It's all cracked up. No one's really pushed back. No one asked anything the year before last. This year, this season, some parents have called, are you gonna open up the wading pool? No. And everybody was okay once we said no. So there's not, you can see from the stats that we provide in the bullet called usage. This pool, you can see the attendance has gone down since 2017, where it was 3,000 people or visits during the summer, and that was for 7 days a week. In 2021, first year after COVID, we had 1,000, and we only opened it Monday through Friday. And the reason for that is staffing issues. You've heard about that before. Supervisors, not so much individual lifeguards, but really supervisors. You can't find. For summer type pools, they're being used for the year-round facilities. And there's other options for college students. It's not something that, a lot of them go into a career path for, unless they want to be an aquatic director. But again, that's where they're looking for the year-round complexes, which there are in the area, the Wise, as well as town community centers. So we have a problem with staffing. So what we decided in 2021 would open it up Monday through Friday, have Percival open up, that's a larger pool, for the 7 days a week. And it's worked. 2022, we had a little over 900, almost a third of what it was in 2017 at this pool. At Percival, we have the statistics and they're also down. Not as great as East Berlin though. East Berlin's, I think the demographics are starting to get older. And obviously, parents are working, they don't have the time to take the kids to the pools during the day like when we were growing up. And then also, we have noticed that there have been a lot more permits in town for people to build pools in their homes. We'll see those have gone up considerably. The one thing I will tell you, we do believe and know that if the town decided to operate one pool complex, then we could absorb the number of people we have at East Berlin into Percival. Okay, again, we can handle it. It would get us back to what we were back in, the early 2015, 14 range.
That person.
Right, at Percival, right. I'm not advocating that at this point. I'm just letting you know that those things are out there. The Senior Community Center Advisory Board also, put this into the report. So if we're ever thinking of having an indoor pool, which quite frankly would be the way to go at some point, that you probably want to consider just having one outdoor.
I guess that would help with staffing too.
Right.
Pool and staff rather than.
You'd be around, that's,
I mean, the indoor pool, they're probably different, but.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
But I mean, the outdoor pool, you put it down to one.
Yeah. Number of days the pools are open, so with the 5 days a week, we're open 48 days, 2022. Again, you open after school closes, and we close it down early in August because all the college kids go back that much earlier. So you're limited. Percival's open 57 days, and you can see the dates there. So for this upcoming season, our plan is to operate just like we did this past year. We'll operate the 2 pools, patch up, if there's patch work that we can do, we're going to patch it up. We're not going to open up the wading pool at this point in time. Again, that would take more resources. We'd operate it Monday through Friday. And that assumes that we can obtain the staff, which we'll know at the end of January. Usually all the kids sign up by then, early February. And so if there's, a reduction in the supervisory staff, which we had 5 this summer, we know 1 is coming back definitely. We're hopeful that 2 others we'll be able to hire 2 others and then we'll be okay. So we'll let you know beforehand if we, got to that point. But otherwise, we're going to operate as we have. We did have 250,000 in the budget, and the town came to our commission and asked us, do we want to spend it on the liner? But it was late, just I think beginning of October that they came to us, and it's too late for us. There was a lot more study. We didn't want to just go with it. Yep, let's spend the 300,000 on a liner, not knowing if there are other issues with the pool. So we'd rather take our time. So I am asking you, reserve that 250, which is now 300,000 for the current capital plan. Don't spend it, because perhaps later next year, when you're ready to spend some capital monies, we'll ask you to spend that on a liner, or we may come back with other ideas about that complex. A lot of towns, when you look at Parks and Rec services from an aquatic point of view, may be closing, some of the older pools, operating fewer pools, but putting in things like splash pads. They're very popular. That is something that's unattended, operate on its own. And so you don't need manpower. Yes, there's some maintenance to it, but you don't need manpower to actually be there during it. But they are expensive to put in. And if we were ever to close the pool, the closing costs are about 300 grand from what we have right now. We have no specific bids, but we've done some groundwork to know that. So you put a liner in to get you through, and hopefully there's no underlying issues, piping or whatever else, or you close it and you spend about the same amount of money. You close it, it might give you an opportunity to do something else with that area. But again, that's something that Parks and Rec would like to look at. We also thought it'd be important to canvass the East Berlin residents. I think that would be, I think people would appreciate that, have them have some say, try and get this out. You know, we are losing water. We lose, I think, Steve said 5 inches we lost this past year. It's cost us more and more on the water bill, to fill it. You know, so it's hard to say how much of that is evaporation versus no rain. Usually they compensate for one another. This year was rather dry. But we know we're losing water. And we're just hopeful there's no underlying, you know, issues. The other thing that I will note is neither pool complex are ADA compliant. In our budget, we've had just placeholder monies, no specific bids. Doug put $750 in for each of the buildings that we have at each of the complexes. There's $150 in there for each of the complexes for maintenance. And then we have this liner. It's, you know, at some point, if you were gonna go with one pool, you might want to make that pool ADA compliant. But that's not just the pool, but it's the building, it's the entranceway. First of all, it's better, but the more Linda, you know, if you go there, you'll see that, you know, it's pretty, well, it's not safe for ADA compliant. So that'd be a fair amount of work. I have no idea if that would, you know, what we have in the budget right now, again, it's just a placeholder, that's all it is. Okay, that's been there for a while. We really haven't spent a lot of monies at this pool or personal for maintenance because our guys team has been able to patch it up pretty well and just hold it together. So there really hasn't been any historical big bucks spent. So we're going to operate it as long as we have a staff. We're going to operate like we did this past year. We will be looking over the next few months and bringing in some experts to our ability to talk about options without spending money. But at some point, we want to look at options, and again, we welcome feedback from you guys or the Board of Finance. We want to look at options for that facility, like a splash pad, or you know, some people say more pickleball courts. You know, that's something that we could look at. So again, this is just informational, and just wanted to kind of tell you what we're doing.
Appreciate that. So do you have any, I mean, looking at the attendance drop, pretty significant, right?
Yeah.
What, I mean, it's changing maybe there. What do you, any other thought? Do we know, have any other fact to why it dropped that significantly?
So all pools have dropped.
Yeah, you said that the other one, right? You
Yeah,
said what-
and if, I can give you.
Percival dropped too,
It did,
that much?
not as much.
Okay, curious.
Yeah. Yeah, so Percival, total attendance in 21 was 3,391, 7 days a week. More than 1,043, 5 days a week. 22 this season, Percival 4,161. More than 931. And again, Percival handles a lot bigger area. East Berlin, and this is just me talking.
Yeah,
But I
yeah,
think demographically, it's getting older.
right,
Hubbard,
yeah.
smaller, I believe, smaller classrooms, you know, fewer. And, you know, more people working, they don't have time during the week to bring the kids to the pools. I know Newington looked at Churchill, I'm not sure where they stood, but they had no pond in Churchill, they looked at Frozen Churchill. And that's a place that when I was a kid, we were there 5 days a week, you know, so. But, you know, there are other things that towns are doing, but again, it does, you know, it's considerable. Splash pads are pretty expensive.
Do we know how much annually for operational costs for a splash pad?
A splash pad?
Yeah.
So, Jen, rough. You see Jen on there?
Yep, Jen.
Hey, John.
Yeah, I don't have Steve got one quote to put one in town, but I don't remember exactly what it was because it also included a playground and everything. But I mean, it's definitely upwards of, you know, $500,000 somewhere around that area.
Yeah, it's a minimum of $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, annual operational costs for a splash pad are minimal. It's just, you know, it would be the water, which is at a splash pad, it's recycled water, using the same water over and over. But any maintenance and everything, you don't have staff to run it, so your operational costs are a lot less.
Right. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna look at. And again, any thoughts that, you know, please pass them out because get people interested in this. We really thought, we're gonna put something else, we said, just to the best of our ability, and we'll post it, if not, we'll put it on Facebook, maybe through the town. But we want to encourage people from East Berlin and anywhere in the town to come and give us some ideas. I think we can do something, but yeah, it's possible.
Maybe even having some sort of informational session at Hubbard for parents who already live in the area and maybe
That's great,
more
yeah.
likely to utilize the facility. Because they're having kids, that may be a pretty decent idea as well.
I think
There's a time.
we could certainly hold one of our meetings at Hubbard. That's great. And if you'd ever want to visit Hubbard too, we can set up, if anybody wants a tour of it, our commission has toured it. And you know, we have a couple of tennis courts, with Steve's help, we've turned those tennis courts also into pickleball courts for people to use, you know, just with the lines. There's a swing set, the left of the tennis courts, and then you have a pool complex to the right. There's actually a lot we could do. We got Grove Park not too far away, you know, we don't duplicate the tennis. Grove Park has basketball courts, you know, don't put basketball courts in there, you know. So, anyway, I think that's a great idea. We'll take you up on that. We'll definitely hold a commission meeting at Hubbard and publicize that. That's a great idea.
All right,
Okay,
thanks, Don.
yeah, thank you.
Maybe we don't.
Thank you. Agenda item 6. Yeah, Berlin Middle Management Association union contract. I have, fill that out. We have a summary of, the items that, we are recommending. I'll just have all of you give some highlights. What do you follow?
Hi, Paul.
Hi, nice to see you. So, yeah, I did an outline of just the notable changes for this contract. There isn't anything too crazy, most of it just language cleanups. You know, making sure that it falls in line with the other current contracts. We updated, you know, the safety equipment allowance amounts, everything else being so expensive, you know, ensuring that they have enough money for that, meal reimbursement. And then the salary increases 2.25 for this year, 2.5 for next year, and then 2.75 for 2023. But outside of that, it's honestly pretty simple compared to a lot of the other ones.
I would, that, the salary increases, I assume, are within what we're saying.
Yeah, and
around.
yeah, exactly. And honestly, some towns are even going up to 3, so this is still pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
And I did consult with the finance director to ensure that he was okay with it and he had no issues and supported it.
Yes,
If I may add.
yes,
So we've been working with the new attorney, labor attorney.
yes,
Aaron and Sage.
Yeah.
We met him.
Yeah.
Very helpful.
It's been fantastic.
Because they do have a lot of other clients
yeah, so we
in
can
other towns.
tell what is going on with the other towns, yeah.
So be very, it's a resource to follow.
Good, all right,
Definitely.
good. All right, folks, questions? Do you have questions on that?
Just one thing on the, with salary increases, the years, should it be 22, 23, 24? Oh, yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was not twisted.
Yes, that's, they got a double in 23. Yeah, those together.
Sure they would have.
Good year.
Maybe more than one other town.
Berlin is generous, you know. Because they're, you know, our property values have gone up, so we have more. Good catch on that. Sandy? Anything else? Did we say anything else? No. We good? All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and, hearing no other comments or questions for Paul, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to approve and authorize the town manager to enter into a contract with Berlin Middle Management Association. July 1, 2022 through June 30, 2025.
Second on that?
Second that.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries.
Great, thank you. Then I will, the extension of the employment risk of police, and this is a recommendation from the police commission. And it's been for 3 years. Unanimously. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add, or you work with the police commission to finalize the language. Right?
It is a 4-year term too, I just want to make sure, so, and then, yeah, that's it, they just voted to extend it, so nothing has changed
Okay.
language wise, other than just the years, and then I updated the salary just so it's reflective of what he's currently making opposed to when it was a year ago, but outside of that, that's it.
Well, that's pretty easy.
Yes, it was.
4 years, chief, come on, come on.
Yeah, I know.
Now we're happy to have you. Glad you're here, glad you're staying. So that's good. So questions? Anybody on this
I just,
same contract?
I'm very happy that you've decided to stay.
Yeah.
Doing a wonderful job, and
Thanks.
I thank you.
Yes, indeed. It's all good. Yeah, no, there are subsequent changes other than that stuff. Anything else? We're good? We good? Okay. So, all right, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to approve and authorize the town manager to enter into an extension of employment agreement with Chief Police Matthew McNally from November 1st, 2022 through October 31st, 2026.
Second on that?
I will second that.
All right, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you.
All right, welcome, chief, for another 4 years.
Thank you, Paul.
You're gonna regret that.
Agenda item number 8, this is an item that we have discussed on and off, and it's for us to do a best proposal to study the 3 water systems in Berlin. I'll have Mr. Durema give a quick recap.
Good evening, I just want to recognize the two state reps, the newly elected one and the newly re-elected one. So congratulations, and you're to the council, which I haven't met before. I brought up a little sheet, and I'll show you exactly what we mean in a minute. I also want to recognize our board chairman, Bruce LaRoche, and Liam Mitchell, who are here also tonight, and Michael Hearn, who's my boss, and Jim Harple on the Zoom meeting. So if any questions come up, they're available also to comment. This came up, it's been a preliminary issue for many years. At the last board meeting in Water Control Board, finally decided to bring this ahead with, and what we suggested is to do something similar that had been already previously done. Back in 1996 and 1998, a report by Fussell and Neal was started. Just a little bit of history going back here, I want to kind of preempt this by saying that Berlin Water Control always had 3 systems. The first, Kensington serving Worthington, and Worthington serving East Berlin. East Berlin went defunct in 1966, which is the reason that Berlin Water Control was created. And when we were created, we made arrangements to interconnect with, and I couldn't believe some of the interconnections that were made with New Britain from John Downey Drive to all the way down to our town line over on Chamberlain. And then we additionally put in townwide systems, which really upgraded all 3 systems. And when East Berlin went defunct, we didn't get we got more of a liability than an actual asset by all means, because it's going to cost us a tremendous amount of money to upgrade the distribution system there. So now what we have is still 3 systems. Berlin Water Control. Yeah, Berlin Water Control is basically this whole area here. We went to the state and really asked for exclusive service area for the entire town, and by state charter, by our charter actually, we're required to have any development is going to be ours. Worthington is this little patch here, roughly 1,200 customers. Kensington is this green section, about 3,500 customers. Currently, we have about 3,000. We have about another 500 or 600 potential customers in the next 2 years. We're having quite a bit of development and such. Going back, I want to read something. that might find interesting. This is from Ida Regazzi, who used to be a mayor in 1996, and to Jack Ross. The complexity of the water system in our town today is such that good business practice dictates that there should be one authority responsible for all of Berlin. This concern is not new, as 2 years ago, the previous executive board asked the same matter to be opened for discussion. And the town council took advantage of that and issued a RFP and hired Fussin O'Neill in 1998. And before the conclusion of that report, town council rejected it. They didn't want to see that because they didn't see that there was a significant advantage for any consolidation. And at that time, they nixed it. And when I went back and read the report, some of the details of the report for Fussin O'Neill, one of the issues that they concentrated on was only on the water rates. They completely ignored the sewer rates. Sewer rates are a big issue in town because, and I brought this up several times before, both districts, Worthington and Kensington, have, we think, significant I&I issue to the fact where basically their water consumption is about 600,000 gallons, for instance, for Kensington. They discharge over 1 point something million into it, so that they're almost doubling the amount that goes to Madawaska. We pay for that bill, and in this report, there's several indications that we've overpaid. They could not figure it out. They said basically, at the time we had 1,700 customers, yet we were paying almost 3 to 4 times more for the rates, and they didn't include that into the actual calculations and evaluations. So the boards finally thought that this is a good opportunity to revitalize this whole process by looking at this and evaluating all 3 systems. And we've got a little bit of history here because seeing East Berlin Fire District go down the tubes is sort of setting the pattern, because if Worthington or Kensington, either one of them, and neither one of them are known to do a lot of capital improvement plans, as a result of that, we may potentially have another problem. And if we do, we inherit it. And as I said, with the East Berlin Fire District, I'm looking at least easy $3 to $4 million upgrades for all the distribution systems. Some work has been done previously, but even that work was not totally well done and still lacking a lot of additional distribution requirements that need to be modified. For instance, lines have to be relined or replaced. And we're looking at significant projects of our own. We have the Deming Road, by the way, the 2 representatives. If you can find a $2 million bond proposal I have out there, that would be grateful. Deming Road projects has just been bid out. It's $3.5 million, and we're co-partners with MDC on that one. And eventually, we're also doing a water supply along the Berlin Turnpike. We're replacing a 20-inch concrete main that's about ready to go any day. So with a 16-inch the line pipe, which is a state-of-the-art pipe. So anyway, so we're looking at that. So the board finally decided that we should bring this up to town council. We'd like to try to, I've worked with Jeff D'Onofrio. We have Jim and Mike and I as well. Within our pre-proposal, we think we're ready to go to bid and take a look at it and see what would come back as the cost and an evaluation of all 3 systems, which would be, I think, a useful tool at this time.
So I'm curious, are the other 2 water districts embracing this study?
They basically told us that they don't want anything to do with it. They don't want to pay for it, and they don't want to contribute to it. So it's going to be a little bit of a problem. I'm not sure how it's going to handle. Depends a little bit too on the position you can attack in terms of the situation here, because they have to be pushed into almost everything we do, frankly, and that's another problem.
Why wouldn't they want to have answers to our whole town's water issue?
I can't answer that.
Okay, no, I just sort of,
I wish I could.
but yeah.
This situation, though, this is the thing. It's happened several times in the past. In 1998 was really the closest time that we actually came with a formal report. Prior to that, I can't tell you how many times, it's been over half a dozen times. Jack Ross, represented the chair of Worthington, said he wanted to consolidate, he wanted to dissolve. And in Kensington, several times over the years of done the same. 1971, Kensington announced to Berlin Water Control, who'd been created at that time, says, we don't want to serve Worthington anymore. Here, you serve them. So we've been serving them. And now we have an issue here, which we're arguing with them, because the fact of the matter is, we have 7 meters in 5 or 6 other locations. And we think there's a lot of leakage in that system, and we can't prove it because they're not all metered. And that's a little bit of a problem. In the last 3 months, in the dry period for, say, June, July, and August, there was 62,000 gallons per day unaccounted for, which is almost 6 million gallons in 90 days. They paid for it, but the thing is, where did it go? And it's unaccounted for water, but it's the difference between the water sold and the water metered, and that was the difference, almost 6 million gallons, which is, in my mind's eye, is astronomical when you think about it.
Yeah, certainly. So, and we don't know where it went.
No, and then a couple times, as I mentioned previously in the past, they've sold more water than we've given them. I don't know where that comes from either, but that apparently got to be, some of the valves have got to be open. That's the only way to explain it. So there are a lot of issues, and you know, we have issues as well too. We have on the same street, we have Berlin Water Control, and then we have Kensington Fire District. And you know, our town employees have been told, if the problem is, you fix it, we'll decide later who pays for it, but we always pay for it because we feel the town's got an obligation.
So, I mean, myself would certainly agree with the study. I just wonder what roadblocks if they don't cooperate, like, can we not get 2 parts of the system because they won't cooperate with
Well,
us,
we've
or-
got a few things that are available that would be helpful too. The water supply plan, we just completed one last year. I think it was through January of last year, which we did. And I don't know that the other 2 utilities, we could FOI it to the state, potentially get that information. Might be able to glean some information. We're the exclusive service providers for Worthington. We provide them with the water, and we also discharge their waste. And that so basically they can go home for a whole year and nothing happens, and we would take care of it.
Are there any other documents other than public records that, I'm sorry?
There are hundreds of
Right, no, but I mean, I'm just trying to think of, you know, what would be other sorts of documents outside of the public records that we could FOIA request that would be useful to help move the study along.
Kensington's under a CMOM agreement with EPA, and it took them 9 years before they actually did the INI study, which is the infiltration into the sewer system. And Kensington, because Kensington, Worthington, and actually East Berlin were created at the same time in 1921, they were given the opportunity to become independent utilities. And as a result of that, their system is quite a bit old. When Berlin Water Control, I have to give them credit from that perspective, when they did a lot of main expansions, it was ductile iron, which was the choice of best chop pipe available at the time. The other utilities chose vitrified clay, which is cheap and easy to put in, and that's a good portion of this sewer system has been vitrified clay, 4-foot structural control. And as a result of that, there's potential leakage all the time there. And ours are PVC pipe. It just happened to be a period of time. 1966 is when PVC pipe was very popular, and we took advantage of that. The better pipe with a lot less leakage overall. So generally speaking, we think we're in better shape, but we're not really sure what the other 2 are in shape. There have been previous reports, and to your answer, basically there have been reports of CDM Smith, who basically did some calculations on losses years ago. None of the 2 utilities really pay attention to those old reports. Though.
Well, I mean, I would certainly agree. We got to do the study. It's just shocking to me that our own other 2 water districts, we'd have to go FOI with stuff. They won't cooperate, but which is, you know, leads me to think what's going on there, but kind of odd. I don't really understand why they wouldn't be, cooperative, which would only help.
Hey, you gonna bring up the
Not only Berlin Water Control, but would help all the, the other 2. Obviously it's all.
Yeah, well, there. There's a lot more to
You
that.
guys,
Yeah, just for the microphone.
Sorry, Liam.
sorry, no, it's hard for you to get around.
Also, recently you voted me in as for Athabasca. They're very much concerned. Because our flow going to them is maxing out what their capacity is.
From on,
We're very close.
from on. From what?
No, their whole plant,
Oh, the whole plant's
the
like.
whole plant. I just recently found out that behind my place, is a 30. We thought it was a 20.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is, reason why I became a was I couldn't flush my toilets because that's where the Athabasca line is on my property. It comes right straight through both sides of my property. And normally it'd be in the springtime that I'd have a problem. I couldn't flush my toilet for 1 month. Then it became 2 months. Well, now, 2 weeks ago, I couldn't flush my toilets. And you know how much rain we have. It wasn't this last storm, snow, or the rain. It was the one before. And we have a pipe that is a clean out pipe. And I could see the water level within 1.5 feet of my concrete floor. My sons jetted it out, ran a camera in it, and they'll testify that the 8-inch main that goes down Washington Avenue, which drains Farmington Avenue into that main, was within 6 feet of my lateral line in the middle of my building. Full. So it was backed up. So now what I'm trying to say is right now we're trying to get money for sewer from that we paid last year, $1 million plus each that they refused to pay for. Now,
I thought they made those payments. No, all, not all, I thought
Well,
they made,
we ran into a problem.
that's from Kensington?
Yes, and here's the problem, kind of glad you brought it up. Specifically, Baxter Avenue meter basically created a problem for us because we thought we were running it properly and it was supposed to be recording, and we just found out that it's not recording properly and the calibration was wrong. So instead of the factors being 3 to 6 times as high, they're only 2 to 3 times, which is still higher. So, so what Liam was bringing up is the fact that, for instance, last year we paid $1 million, and we actually paid more than Kensington still has more than us in terms of customers. And I plugged in the number, and I said it was very conservative. I said, well, you know what? If they doubled up on their actual water sold, how would that formula look like? It would be reversed. They would end up paying 1.3 million, and we would be paying $700,000. So if you figure that out for 4 or 5 years, or even 10 years, you're looking at a tremendous amount of money we have expended and lost to Berlin Water Control customers because we were overpaying.
Because of the meter?
Because, well, the meter wasn't even in place. And when I replaced the meter, we didn't, for instance, our Shimonian didn't even know it existed. So when we drafted the 2012 agreement, that he didn't know anything about that meter. And so when I went back in history, 2001, Jack Ross basically at the time used that meter to, in which makes sense because 95% of the flow from Kensington goes to that meter point. So that if you can get them to show what their I&I is and what their consumption is discharged, you can subtract that out of the equation, whatever's left, Worthington and ourselves. And then we divvy up it based on consumption. And the interesting part about that whole thing is that historically, we've always overpaid. And also the town-wide system basically ended up supporting both of the 2 districts and helped them put them in shape in terms of operation. Otherwise, they would have been long gone in terms of consolidation.
What is all their money that they're collecting, the water bill and the 1% tax?
Oh, you mentioned the tax, the evaluation go up? Well, their taxes are based on that evaluation as well. So your Kensington and Worthington Fire District taxes are going to go up based on that.
They don't all live in those 2 districts.
Well,
$600
yeah,
last quarter.
it's gonna go up whether you like it or not, whether you control the consumption. See, Berlin Water Control bills you on consumption. So what you use is what you're paying for, not what the value of your house is or your business. And in this case, the business pays a lot of money extra.
Right.
For
$3,000.
That legal
Water
to,
bills,
tax on for that? What is it? So what are they, the 1% tax? I see, always heard my parents complain about it.
1.88 for Gordon and 1.1 for Ken.
Yeah, so I mean, where's that? Shouldn't they have plenty of money? Because they're not only charging for the water, but they're charging the tax for their
I would think
part of town
For you guys to figure it out.
since 1920 or whenever they started charging.
Going to give us some documents indicating whether or not.
You would hope there'd be some.
It's even better, you don't have to be a customer to be taxed, you have to be in your district.
They're still taxing me on the
They
tax,
still tax you.
even though I'm not charging the water bill.
Berlin Water has customers that are in their district.
Yeah.
And they pay the water bill for the Berlin,
The 1% tax. they did.
to the fire district.
And they get no benefit whatsoever because they have a hydrant.
But if you call there, they tell you that it's, you're funding the fire department, it has nothing to do with anything.
No, they don't.
Yeah, if you look up. Fire district,
What a deal. What a deal.
Well, the other factor in getting it, we put a meter in right there in Baxter, which is right behind my place there, within half a block. What we have found is that that pipe is being maxed out when we get a rainstorm. Here's the factor that I want to keep in mind, which is the huge point here. Remember, I was having my problems with my toilets in the spring. I'm now having that problem in December. And there's been no rain. So I'm telling you, for the 2 million, might be 6 million, and the town of Berlin is gonna have to pay that bill because we have no cooperation. I've been to all their meetings recently. And there is no cooperation. They don't want to hear anything. They've avoided us in the committees. The attorney just does everything possible to avoid anything to do with what the problem is at hand.
In our last rainstorm, a half an inch. This was the flow meter reading, 1.565. That's 1,565,000 gallons. Now, their daily consumption is around 600,000 gallons, which means that almost 1 million gallons came groundwater. That goes to the Natahbasett, where we split the costs and we get a share of that, whether we like it.
And they're about 80% on that line. We're very little, because that basically drains most of the northern part of Berlin. So we're very little of that meter. It's gonna compound as these new buildings and then.
Oh, well, definitely, yeah.
They're gonna become worse, but it's gonna tax these systems that are already. Be worse. I support that study completely, but the key is gonna be public education. People, so people understand, we have 3 water departments. Most people in town don't have any idea how this is set up.
That's always.
Or they
I
maintain
call
it.
almost every day about that same question. It's true. You're absolutely correct. What's one of the other things we thought is that with the study, we also agreed to go to a referendum question, asking if the town people want to have a consolidation. They don't want to have a consolidation, then I'm not.
As I understand the law, the town cannot eliminate it with a referendum question. They have to dissolve by the customer vote or by the state legislature, but it would be a great educational tool.
Oh, definitely. We would probably have some kind of forum a couple of weeks before the actual referendum would out to let people know what the circumstances are.
Or just hang on to your shorts, because I think your next bill is going to be very big.
Yeah, he goes now because I was at one of the meetings at Natahbasett. Their costs have jumped up dramatically now. Last year was 2.27 million. This year it'll be 2.5 million. And they want us to pay that for them and then get reimbursed from Kensington. We're not really in agreement.
We're not gonna do that, right?
I'm hoping it's done.
And they're putting in meters right there on Deming Road.
Yeah.
This is Natahbasett, just because they don't believe our flows. They can't believe that we have that much of a problem.
Well, they're gonna share with us the data? Apparently not.
Oh, yeah, I'll get you the figure.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so,
first time we've had a commissioner that we've appointed in Natahbasett, I'm gonna address the council. I've been here 10 years. And I want to thank Mr. Mitchell. This is the first time
Well, that's
anybody's
true.
given us the
I
information.
want to agree with you on that. And furthermore, I'd like to, because he keeps calling me at night. He goes to the meetings.
sorry, Brian.
is Worthington and Kensington. So he does get their feedback and he gives it back to the Manabasset, which we haven't had it since I've been here. It's never occurred, so congratulations.
The opinion is that I killed their firstborn. Okay, so that's how welcome I am.
Keep doing a good job.
Let's, thank you, gentlemen, yeah.
Question, maybe this is very oversimplified, but if we do this RFP and Kensington, Worthington don't cooperate, but yet they're looking to us for dollars for X, Y, and Z. Well, if you want dollars for X, Y, and Z, complete your RFP. It's that simple.
Good point. And the other point that you just mentioned in a way, Joe, is which I found a little bit interesting is that Worthington took a loan out of the USDA and it took it out for $450,000 to pay for their metering locations. They've only paid it down like 30 or 40,000 of that. But we were the underwriters. We being the town, because if they just fund on that payment, town's going to pay for it.
Unbeknownst to us.
Unbeknownst, it was in the annual report, which is the only way I found out about it. Was
I
in the
remember you
annual
mentioned
report.
that before, that's another serious problem. But, yeah, well, so let's take a vote on this. Well, let's make a motion on this. And we'll move forward and figure it out.
Move to authorize the town manager to request proposals to study the free water and sewer district. Town of Berlin.
I'll second that.
Any other comments or questions? None, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right, so moved. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thanks. Right.
Item number 9, it's 2 items from. Actual services. What do you, Doc?
Evening, everyone, how you doing?
Hey, Doug, how are you?
Just itty bitty EO increases.
Yeah, that's like nothing. Billions.
Unless you're.
Yeah.
We had some major service items in the pipeline, some projects potentially over the winter, for the spring that we could exceed our threshold, so. Just looking for some, room on the PO if needed, based on the best price to reach the projects this year. Pool and town buildings, Timberland work will happen now, with the director on board, projects out there. Few things going as we, second half of the fiscal year.
Yeah, okay. What do we think, folks? Good? Yeah. All right, want to take a motion?
Move to utilize various state, national, and consortium purchasing contracts. Approve purchase orders up to $25,000 as needed. Departments 38 public buildings and 51 school expenses contractual service account without exceeding account balances during fiscal year 2023 for the following vendors: Aston Rug, John Boyle, McBride Carpet, M. Frank Higgins, Lane Flooring, Greenwood Industries, Northeast Interior Systems, KMK Installation, Disaster Restoration Services, and Core Holding.
Thank you, second on that.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions for Doug on this? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you. And that number 10 is a town hall waste project, aerial purchase, the fund project.
Timing's a little bit off, but this is a project that's been in for last year capital carryover funding. Increase no longer active, failed, so this is a new product. We're going to do this in conjunction with some gutter and masonry work along the perimeter of the building, help with icing and snow,
Oh, yeah.
help with our drainage, and kind of prepare that for the next year or two. Within the capital. Spoke today, and there's also some opportunity actually for solar panels in conjunction with the roofs on the road, so I'm gonna keep pursuing those options as well.
Great. Questions for Doug? Hearing none, go ahead and take a motion on that.
Move to utilize Omnia Partners National Agreement EV 2370 and approve the purchase of Cornwall wrap, trace cable, and replace the cable within the gutters, southbound, and associated accessories at Town Hall from Radar Electric of Wallingford for an amount not to exceed $36,258. Includes a 10% project.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? Further comments or questions? Hearing none, vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holiday, we'll see you in the new year.
Yeah, thank you.
Next four good items, from public works, so I'll ask, come to the podium. First item is the, talk about the selection of having a construction manager for the village, school HVAC project.
Right. Essentially the design for the Woodward School HVAC upgrade project is done. It's got to be fine tuned. So the Public Building Commission went out to bid for construction management services. Received two bids, one from Downs Construction and one from Newfield Construction. The bids came in. Newfield had a lower bid and had a lower estimated construction duration of 18 months. Downs Construction had a construction period of 16 months. So it's basically a year and a half construction period. And the way the RFP presented the construction schedule was 2 summer seasons with second shift during the school year. So basically, most of the work will be done during the summer, and then all the fill-in work or prep work will be done during the school year. So PBC interviewed both firms, went through the proposals, the work plans, found Newfield to be more responsive and also more cost effective. So PBC wants to award the contract to Newfield Construction with a contingency in case the construction goes to 2 years, which the guys in the PBC are actually in construction, so they're aware of how schedules can get extended. So that the amount $934,000 includes an extra 6 months of construction if it gets delayed or extended. So that's the contingency in this request. And this is all from the ARPA money. Kevin gave us a sufficiency of funds, so the money's there for the HVAC upgrade.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know we talked about this stuff, so. Okay, questions? For Mike, any questions? Familiar with these projects? Okay, we're gonna take a motion.
Move to award contract number 2023-08 for construction management services on Emma Hart Fullerton Elementary School HVAC project to Newfield Construction Group LLC, Hartford, Connecticut. In the amount not to exceed $934,625.
Thank you. Second on that.
I'll second that.
Any other questions come to mind? No? All right, on the motion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12 is construction. Contract.
We've used this very successfully over the past 4 or 5 years. It's basically an on-call list for contractors where we get the rates for bulldozers, excavators, dump trucks, and also labor. And we use this when Isaiah's came into town, when Ida came into town for some cleanup, because we could then go right to them with the rates known and pick, whatever available vendor was available there, and also with the competitive rates. So we went out to bid. We received rates and equipment list from 5 contractors, and we'd like to actually retain all of them. It's sort of like an a la carte situation where we can choose who's more cost effective and available at the particular time we need it. And obviously, the people with the higher rates, we wouldn't want to call them unless we can't get that piece of equipment someone else. So, and it's a 2-year contract, 5-year firm, 5 firms on the list. So I think that will set us up for the next 2 years if we need these services both for equipment and for labor. And in your packet, you'll see the spreadsheet that has all the equipment, the rates for each firm.
In addition to that, or just the right one?
Most of the stuff comes with an operator. So for example, a dump truck, an excavator, a bulldozer would be with an operator. We also have rates for just foremen and for labor.
And then some of the contractors gave us, we had a basic list of equipment with operators. They gave us some extra equipment and we actually, that's handy to have too, because sometimes you need a snow blower that can attach to a loader or something else. So it's, I want to expand this list, but right now this is a pretty good menu to pick from.
I just have a curious point. When we use federal funds to pay these folks, like after a storm, do they have to meet the federal wage scale?
Minimum wages.
I haven't run into that situation yet. I think we used, when we got FEMA reimbursement for Isaiah, we actually went out, because we went on a competitive basis, they didn't ask for that. We actually sent bills for 3 contractors during the Isaiah's cleanup, and they did not, that was not one of their criteria, and they gave us like $260,000. But you know what, I will, check on that if we ever run into a situation where it could be another funding source up front. We'd have to check and make sure.
They, in the bid package, they should be.
That's right, yeah. Good point.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and take a motion.
Move to authorize the town manager to accept the attached bid results for equipment rental contract 2023-10 and utilize the services of JV3 Construction Earth Contractor, Staffs Construction Services, Carryout Developers Incorporated, and Valley Construction Incorporated when issuing future purchase orders to one or more firms depending on vendor availability and cost effectiveness through December 31st, 2020.
Second on that?
Second, that.
You? Any other questions you thought of in the last minute? No? All right, we'll go ahead and vote on this. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Then item number 13 is contract extension for scrap metal disposal contract.
Right, this is actually a good news item because the town gets about $30,000 to $40,000 per year from scrap metal, which, it's a nice little revenue source. We bid this out in 2020 and Calamari Recycling was selected and it was based on a per ton basis, bump up on top of a commodity index that Boston has for light iron. It's just like a scrap metal index. They were at 105% per ton on top of that commodity index. They've offered to, that was a 2-year contract. It runs through December 31st of this year. They offered to extend their existing rates for another 2 years. They've been very responsive. Their bills are actually really clear and everyone seems to be very happy with them at the transfer station and in our office. So we feel reason not to extend another year of real rate.
That's good. It's actually making some money disposing of that.
Yeah, and a good vendor, you want to hold on to them.
Yeah, we'll hear it. Any questions for Mike? If not, we'll take a motion.
Move to extend contract number 2021-3, Poultry Scrap Metal Disposal, with Calamari Recycling Company Incorporated of Essex, Connecticut, through December 31st, 2021.
Second on that?
Second, that.
Thank you. Any comments, questions before we vote? Then all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. And item number 14 is bid award from Tuminous Country, Town Roadways.
We have, since I've been here, we've been using the DAS state contract for essentially hot mix asphalt. And realistically, we go to Tilcon because they're the closest plant. The DAS contract, the new one is out right now. It extends to April 30, 2024. So our highway department wants to use this contract to fill in the potholes on your streets and do work during the summer as well, curb work and all that. So we'd like your permission to use this contract going forward for another 2 years.
Obviously, you're happy with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course. I wouldn't think you'd bring it to us if you weren't. So,
It's a good deal.
yeah.
And it's basically for pickup. The guys go in there.
It's the only deal.
The only deal? This is the only deal?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
So I guess we are. Yeah.
But it's still a pretty good
Even
deal.
if we're not happy with it. Yeah. Yeah, we like it. All right, good. Any questions? Now we're going to take a motion.
Move to approve utilizing the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services contract 22 PSSX 0010 for bituminous concrete through April 30th, 2024. For a new expiration date is extended by the state.
Second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, vote on the motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Myself.
And item number 15 is from me.
Oh, what do you want?
I'll make it quick and
It's very excellent.
all I'm asking is for you to set a public hearing on January 3rd, it's the next meeting, 6:45.
Happy New Year.
Yes, for the town council chamber for the purpose of receiving movement and all comments. in the next Chapter 16. The ordinance can be met and they accepted the language and they're recommending to the town council to have a public hearing. After public hearing, depending on what type of comments you get, to accept the language, which is pretty much to increase the bid threshold from 10,000 to 25, which is allowed by the state.
Okay, yeah, we had talked about this for a number of years, so finally we'll get it done, make things move a lot quicker. And clear up some of our calendars. Our vendors. So, all right, go ahead and make a motion on that.
Move to set a public hearing on January 3rd, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. at the town council chambers for the purpose of receiving written and oral comments concerning new text to chapter 16, taxation and finance.
Second on that?
Second that.
All right, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved.
You.
Thanks.
And item number 16, this is a very intensive project from Councilor Capola and the town clerk, the calendar, one person committee.
That's it.
That's the best kind of committee.
That is the
You agree with yourself often, or do you argue? You argue?
Would you like to make the motion?
You might as well just do it all.
Oh, okay.
Might just do it all.
Are you ready?
Yeah, we can, we're good with, assuming we're good with the calendar. Good with the calendar.
All right, well, thank you, Charlie. And I will make a motion to move to approve the adoption of the town council meeting calendar for 2023 and January of 2024.
I would like to second it.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Sandy, do you have any questions on this? Do you question anything?
No, I don't have any.
No, okay, there you go. Any other questions from anyone? Concerns? All right, we're all set. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right, so moved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if I may at this time, administrators here after it's about to go to the next meeting. Of the meeting.
Oh, yeah, no, right, our man, yeah.
If you don't mind, we'll,
Yeah.
we'd like to give an update on of where things are and planning that's going on for the next year.
Are they still down there in the meeting?
Yeah,
I don't know, I.
Oh, my goodness, that's a
Left
long
there, so.
meeting for a board of finance.
and I believe the chair of the meeting was there, but she couldn't make the second meeting.
Yes, Kara was there with me for the board of finance meeting. We took up about 45 minutes of their meeting.
Good, well, they should be staying late too. Good. I'm not gonna do anything.
So in the interest of time, I'll take 45 minutes.
We prefer you don't here. Just for the board of finance, that wasn't for us, because we're already here late. Yes, we already put in our time, yes, we have more to do.
Me too, so that's good.
I have more time for the town manager report.
Yes, exactly.
So I was just asked to come and give an update on the status of the agency and kind of what I've done since I've been here.
Thank you.
So first thing was just to do my assessment on the agency, and I identified some issues and kind of the structure of the agency, the day-to-day kind of workflow things, the work to correct that. And I'm continuing working on the foundation of the agency and making sure that everything is organized. We're all doing things the same way. what the expectations are. So really been working hard on that. There's been a lot of policy work and a lot of things that have had to be done to kind of be brought up to date, continuing the work that Barbara had started. So some initiatives to decrease costs, because that's always the biggest topic when we're talking about the DNA. So education to staff was number one, so that they have more accurate assessments. Those initial start of care assessments are what drive part of our revenue. So making sure that those were accurate is really important for every dollar that they're going to get back. Replacing some per diem staff, particularly to physical therapists who've had a history of just overutilization and just issues with them kind of doing too many visits without really the need for all of those visits. So got rid of them, got another per diem physical therapist who is really aware of appropriate utilization, has had decades in home care, and is really aware of the new PPGM payment model. So that's been working out really great. I evaluated the medical supplies because some of them can be quite costly, and a lot of times there's another option that is the same thing but less expensive. So we did those swaps, and it's kind of pennies on the dollar, but they all add up. And then also adding a fee per visit nurse will increase the overtime of the full-time staff. Our full-time nurses do a rotating weekend assignment, and there's a lot of overtime in that. So having the fee per visit nurse is about half, less than half the cost of the full-time staff for the overtime. And then just continued education on the quality metrics. So in the assessment, from assessment to discharge, we want to show improvement. So just educating on those assessments to show that improvement in our patients. I also ended the relationship with the assisted living facility in West Hartford that didn't really pan out as expected. And I felt like it really wasn't worth it. It was not bringing in the patients that it was thought to bring in, and was quite time consuming for our staff to drive out there to West Hartford. So we ended that. We ended the JCO certification, which used to be a requirement. It's no longer required, and it's a few $1,000s a year, so we got rid of that. Increasing our community outreach for two reasons. One, for marketing and letting the town know that we're here and we are ready and able to take care of any of the home care needs, but also just to give value to other members of the community beyond our home care patients and our students and schools. So we've done about at least one event a month, and we look to continue doing that just to provide value to those other areas of the community that we don't hit in home care in the schools. We've also looked a lot at our out of town patients. We have reduced that from about 40% to between 14 and 25% from month to month. That fluctuates a little bit, but we've definitely reduced that. And we've had an increase in total patients. So looking at 2021 to 2022, the total monthly patients has been increased on most of the months of this year in comparison to 2021. We've been doing more admissions, less recertifications, and more discharges. And what that tells us is we're getting more patients, but being more productive in the visits where they don't need to be on service for as long, which is a good thing. And the last part, just some goals that we want to do. Well, and also in this upcoming budget, we were able to cut somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000 off of that next budget. I know it's not the number we're looking for, but we're looking to build the revenue. So I have a goal to reach 75 patients as a census, and that is manageable with the current staff that we have. I also am looking to create relationships with at least 3 referral sources to increase census. I have some appointments set up already, but I'm looking to have 3 or 4 really firm referral sources where we may be the priority home care. So outside of those larger healthcare networks in town, or not town, state, I'm gonna be looking to meet with nursing facilities and hospitals that are not attached to a home care agency. So hopefully we can do that. Working with Kara and the Board of Finance and Kevin, the Director of Finance, to create some 1, 3, and 5-year goals and plans to decrease losses year over year. And like I said, the community events. So we're really happy to be able to do that. We have a couple of barriers. We have a lack of support from the Board of Directors, but this is being addressed by the chair, Kara. So we'll be looking into that. And I think that's kind of it. I don't know if anybody has questions, but just want to give a brief overview of what's been going on over there.
No, we appreciate all that update. That's great. And certainly the budget is important to us, but the standard of care is the most important, just so you know that. We
Well,
do care
quality
about.
drives the revenue, so.
No, we get that. We want quality, we want the standard of care. And I know that's your most important thing. I mean, that's certainly what we care about the most. Dollars is in every equation today in the world, but the standard of care and that folks are getting the right care, that's great. Quality is more, yes.
Just a couple more.
Yeah, sure.
So I know you said you weren't doing the JCO accreditation any longer. Do you think that's gonna affect it all for your marketing or referral sources, where some might only want to go with the JCO?
Kind of
See it as much.
outdated now, and
Okay, so
it's not really something that we see, maybe those larger or not.
More for the facilities that are doing.
Okay. Yeah. So really no harm to.
Okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't gonna hurt you anywhere from current referral sources.
Yep.
And then do you know what your increase was from 21, 22?
Like the patients.
Yeah, you said it was a increase per month, and I just.
Yeah, so I didn't get the totals here, but like, for instance, January total patients, 69 comparatively to 76.
So I know.
November 49, previous to 65, October 57 to 74, September 62 to 68. Some of them go, the other way, but for the most part, we're seeing more admissions, like comparatively.
I had is, I know you're working with some different referral sources. You have an area that you're looking not to go outside of, like 20 miles from Berlin or 10 miles. I just wasn't.
So our main focus is Berlin, and currently I think we have 1 or 2 patients in Plainville, one in New Britain, a couple in Newington. That's pretty much all that we do. We're really only doing, our area really only covers towns that touch.
Okay.
But obviously we don't go to all of them, and we're really focused on just servicing Berlin with some out of town, because it does help with the revenue.
Okay.
So I actually did want to ask a follow-up question on the out-of-town patients. So 40% down to 14% of the total census out of town. Do you think that will be reflective of where the VNA wants to be at in terms of out-of-town servicing for the next year or two?
Yeah, I think we should continue to have out of town, but be selective and really keep the focus on Berlin. But I think it's prudent for us to keep out of town to have the ability to take other referrals when we need that. If we have a low referral, low number of referrals of Berlin patients for a month, we're certainly going to want to fill those slots in with someone else. So if they happen to be out of town, but we think that they're a good fit for our agencies, and we feel that we're a good fit for them.
Any questions? Anything else? Well, thank you so much for coming and hanging out a little bit longer than you needed to.
I haven't gotten to really meet everybody, so it's nice to just be here and.
Just to comment before she leaves,
Yes.
just, I know we talked about this when we hired Leah.
Yes.
But her experience in Hartford Healthcare,
Yes,
administrative experience, DNA, waterbed. It has made a tremendous difference coming in here from the complete 360 and just sort of unpacking everything and starting building from ground up. So I'm really pleased that you're here with us. And then, sometimes it takes time to build a solid foundation and have a strategy and a vision to move forward. Years to understand. So thank you for your.
Thank you. It hasn't been the timeline that I envisioned. But certainly I have kind of dismantled the VNA and I've been in the process of just rebuilding it. So it has taken a little while. Now in our monthly meetings, I always asked, what have you done to build this? What have you done? It's like, well, we're working on this to get the foundation. So, you can't live in a house that isn't built yet. It's kind of the same thing. We can't take on patients that we're not 100% ready to take on and grow. So just getting that in place. But January 1 should be the last of it. We have a new assessment coming out from Medicare, and that determines our Medicare reimbursement. So spending a lot of time educating staff on those changes and what's going to come out. But after January 1, we feel pretty confident. A couple weeks for them to get really comfortable with that assessment. And really working hard to make those connections with the referral source. So hopefully we'll see in 2023 a big difference.
right. Thank you very much.
What you.
You know, but appointments, okay. What do we have, we're gonna, I apologize, we're gonna hold off on planning zoning, sorry. But we do have a couple others here. We have, what do we have, Cape Board of Ethics?
You have a board of ethics. Yes.
Yeah.
If you want to go on that, there is an opening as an alternate.
Okay, that is, what is that, what's the opening of the year, even, okay. Then you.
It would be number one, and it would be, I don't think there's one of the ballots.
Yeah.
Or is that Mr.
Pulcini, yeah.
That was the one, it was a separate sheet.
Yeah.
I think I saw that at the top. File.
Did Tiffany Bernard ever submit her application? I know that she had.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, I know that she had expressed some interest in joining the ethics. board,
She did.
but Tiffany Bernard.
Yeah.
I haven't heard.
Hmm.
You want to wait?
Hold on. You know what, Mr. Jack, I'm glad you, thought of that, because I would be in big trouble.
Hey, you might be-
Say nobody-
It might be really, really big trouble if I didn't wait for that one, so, that was Tiffany, so, yeah, so.
Push them off.
Wait a minute,
Maybe you have her kid.
she, she didn't mention it, but thank God you remembered. It'd be a bad Christmas if I didn't mention it, I didn't know, sorry.
Send her a reminder, and so for the two, there's, council report. In January.
Yeah.
We will have 5 pages.
Many more, yes. So,
of
joy.
Because that's where the rotation starts to people coming in and on. All right, so the first meeting in January, we will see them. I will give you the stack of applications. And who wants to stay on and who doesn't. And then the second meeting, which I think is January 17th, is what you vote on. All right, so it can be in this mix because you want to be cautious. And when you are preparing for how you're going to nominate and appoint, is remember that if there's a vacancy, not in the alternate position, but in the regular boards and commissions, those are filled first. All right, and then you fill the regular position, then you fill the alternate. All right, and then you have to be confident of party. Berlin is a very, Berlin is stricter on party than statutes are, so it's a fair majority.
And we have another one though for the VNA.
And if you want to wait on that one, you can,
No.
or you want to vote on it?
No, we have
There's one less to evaluate.
Exactly, and we have openings on the VNA, so, that's good,
Okay.
good thing. So we'll go ahead and, take a nomination for, there you go.
I'd like to nominate Aurora Cordovelle for the VNA board.
All right, we have a nomination. Any other nominations? All right, we're going to close the nominations and we'll take a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, so moved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Careful when you ask.
Yeah, have fun on the DNA board. It'll be a fun time.
Well, she seems awesome. I
She
mean,
does.
thank you about it.
It's good.
That
It's good.
was awesome.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Yeah, thanks for volunteering.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Okay, so that'll end that, and now we're on to the town manager's report, which I know will be very brief this evening, but.
It is going to be brief because we have team.
Yes.
The agenda of the.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
I do want to
Okay.
introduce our new golf director who is here.
Oh, yeah.
Ferdinand Guerrero, who's by Sal.
Wait, hey, there we go. Welcome.
So Sal just started on Monday.
Monday, okay.
Back today and Thursday.
You came back the second day, so it wasn't that bad? That's good.
The key is going to come back Friday because first night is golf coming.
Ah, okay, so we may not see you. It'll be fun.
So also he's been a pro as well as administrative golf director experience. He was
Great.
the golf commission and already in the day at Timberland and has done a lot of work with Mark and Jerry and the team there. And as I mentioned, we're doing some big change this year, the town taking over the cash register, the driving range and the, cart management and also having a ranger and we're moving offices. So Doug's going to be part of the solution to help us relocate people and get connections and all that. And we are also thinking of getting a new point of sale system and give people their credit cards online and tablets so that people can be checked in and go to the pro shop, bring a little bit to the first century, right? And also have
Oh, let's go back to the 1800s.
well, no, that's 1985.
No,
We don't use woods anymore.
No.
So, and then also, the carts still, the newly still have, geofencing so that people don't drive on the areas they're not supposed to. Put shut off the first.
All right.
So there'll be a lot of new things coming,
Right.
and, but I'm thrilled that Saul is here to, be part of the change, and, we have a good team now.
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you. Glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
And good luck. It'll be a fun time. It'll be good. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So a couple of other items, I'll be quiet. The senior housing generator, December 19th, the group, Doug did a request to come, someone to come and check it out and do the testing. They'll be done on December 19th. We're trying to get it done soon so that before the winter, have generators.
Yeah.
Ready
Great.
to that facility.
Good.
And I do want to tell you, this is what we started today with the VNA. Mentioned last time that my goal is to try and bring other boards and commissions in front of you for January. We have already scheduled for the first meeting, planning and zoning, combined with economic development. There's a lot of good going on, and it would be nice for them, for you to hear. That's kind of the project that I in the pipeline. And then the second meeting, the Public Building Commission will be here. We will discuss what they are doing.
Great.
And just by your benefit, if you are in town, Wednesday, December 21st around noon, we're having just a meet and greet for the new staff, some salary. All council members are welcome to join us at noon, and if your calendar permits. Otherwise, we'll have another time to do that. So with that. Thank you.
So we have our special committee report. We did have a ordinance committee, which we talked a little about the noise ordinance, ATV, with the noise and all that, so, that's, we're working on that. We still have some work to do on that, and, we wrapped up the leash, the dogs, that's all wrapped up, right? And then we have the other one you mentioned tonight, which is going for the public hearing, for the, increase from 10,000 to 25,000. And that was that, and we set a meeting for January sometime, I think, for the ordinance committee.
Yeah, I think it's the
Right,
January.
January, better remind us after New Year's if we remember.
I'll send you a reminder.
Okay, so that was it for that. I think that's the only committee we had, other than the. Yeah, that's the big one.
I'm off for a year.
Yeah, there you go. What a deal. What a deal.
I mean, you're on the ordinance committee as well, Sandy, so
Yeah.
you're not like.
I think you should just have some meetings with yourself.
Give it-
I would do. In the room here, because Steve. So council communications, so what do we have, folks, anything? Council communication? Got nothing?
They just want to say a quick congratulations to the Berlin High School football team
Oh, yeah,
on a very successful season, despite a difficult result on Saturday, but hey, second in the state is 12-1, so something to be very proud of. So congrats to the students and the coaches. Also did just want to say that tomorrow marks the 10-year anniversary of the Sandy Hook school shooting. Maybe we can just take a quick moment to reflect on the students and the teachers who lost their lives in the shooting tragedy, and also take a moment to appreciate law enforcement and those that continue to work on making our community safer. So. All I got.
thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to mention, the Wreaths Across America, will be placing, over 1,200 wreaths, on, the graves, Fairview Cemetery in New Britain on Saturday. There's a ceremony at 11 o'clock, and anybody that chooses to be cold and work out, we're taking volunteers to give us a hand with getting those wreaths. This is part of the DAV Chapter 8. Britain, but there's a lot of Berlin constituents of ours that are members of that. So anybody that wants to come on, if you have any questions, certainly you can take a look at the website or let me know, and we'll get you out there outfitted. Thank you.
Also honored on Peter.
Yes, Peter was we had a ceremony at New Britain High School this morning too, and he was there, and he will be putting a wreath on our Gold Star monument as well here now. So it was moving.
That was a great ceremony
We were
today.
all crying at one point. It was fantastic.
Speakers was amazing, yeah.
Really did a nice job, so. And Mr. Higgins knows how to do a nice job with an event like that. Thank you.
And they're on their way to
Yes,
Arlington.
Arlington, yep.
It was great. Speaking of the football team, I wanted to see if we could, maybe we could call, maybe I'll call Coach Joe. I want to get them here. We want to hear.
Nice.
So I'll try, I'll call Coach. See, in January, hopefully. 'Cause they turned their season around, right? What was it, 4-6 last year? 12-1, not so bad.
One turn.
For the end, they did.
Yeah, $300,000 scoreboard, maybe.
That's what did it. That's what did it. I don't think it's there either. So they'll be.
No, you can't.
I think
You can't issue this.
We can't, no, we can't. So.
And Charlie, it's a jumbotron.
No. Anyway, I'll work on, gonna get them. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, so let's go to acceptance of minutes, just get rid of these and then we'll get rid of the floor.
Will we accept the minutes for November 15, 2022 as presented?
Second on that,
Second that.
thank you. Any questions? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I move we accept the minutes for November 29, 2022.
All right, second on that.
Second that.
All right, thank you. Any questions on that one? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so one abstention. Thank you, Sandy. All right, right, so that's all set. And now we are at our executive session. So I'll make a motion at 9:05 to go into executive session. And everybody, we have Roach, the chief, yeah.
We have comments, so just
Yeah.
take the first item, real estate. Just, Jim Mahoney, going to join us.
Oh, he's there, okay, yeah.
It shouldn't take that long.
Yeah.
For the first one.
Okay, oh, okay,
I'll be here.
okay.
And, for the second one, we have, the chief, Kevin Delaney,
Down,
Sal, here,
and
Paul as well.
right, yes,
So,
for the second one.
yeah, I mean, I could just wrap up the first one.
Yeah, agree, yeah, that'd be good, absolutely. All right, so we'll go ahead and take a motion. Got a motion for that, right?
Move for executive session, inviting you.
Well, it's just the motion for the first one.
And of course, the,
And then attorney board, of course. And the second one would be with, the same folks, with Delaney, Chief, Walla, and Mr. Ordinary. So, okay, second on that, Donna?
I'll say.
Right, if you would. All those in favor?
Aye.
So, motion carries, so we'll just take a minute to do this. And,
I'll get Jim on the line.
yes, Jim, yeah, Jim, I'm sorry, Jim is invited.
This is, what he's going to talk about.